We have Generator and Round Rock, and right now, I would like to introduce to you Robert Peroni with Generator. He is the Managing Director in Strategic Partnerships of Business Development. Please come to the stage. And then we also have here Adriana Nunes Young. She is the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship with Round Rock Chamber. And not featured, but stepping in is the wonderful Prentice Keller with Groove Capital. We will have another person coming in later, but we would like for you all, if you can, to lower your voices and be respectful during the panel. And if you're interested, please sit down and hear from these wonderful, wonderful people. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here and really looking forward to this panel. Both Robert and Adriana have such
Perfect.
wonderful
How'd
insights,
you like my
and
voice again?
you're going to enjoy this, to say the
If
least.
I if
So,
I do my
my name
redneck
is
accent
Prentice
too much, I'm
Keller.
gonna get
I am a
stuck in it
partner
for a
at
while.
Groove Capital. Groove
Olive.
Capital is Minnesota's largest first check fund. Just hit 100 investments in portfolio companies as of last week. So continuing to scale throughout and hopefully into Texas soon. But this is very exciting for me as I used to be with Generator, of which Robert is. And we had the pleasure of working on bringing programming to Round Rock. The Round Rock Chamber and the Round Rock Economic Development has been so forward thinking in terms of entrepreneurial development and innovation. So you're in for a treat. But I will pass it to you both to introduce yourselves briefly. So, Robert, do you want to start?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Peroni, Managing Director of Strategic Partnerships and Business Development at Generator. The nice way of saying that is anything that doesn't have a home, you can just point at me and be like, he'll figure it out. Also, just fun fact, Prentice was my boss. She left because of me. So it's a treat to be on stage with her because she's truly brilliant. And so I'm excited. And she was a part of this project we were working with Round Rock. And so, yeah.
Very kind. All right, Adriana. Oh,
Like my Thanks, Robert. Hey, everyone. My name is Adriana Nunes, and I am the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Round Rock Chamber.
perfect. All right, let's just dive right in then. So, Round Rock has a strong entrepreneurial history, and we saw that as we were building out these programs, right? So, this has been built by founders like Michael Dell. Everybody knows Michael Dell, right? So, how has that shaped the city's mindset around innovation, and how do you see your roles in it?
I think the really neat thing about having Dell in our backyard is the story, right? They started here in Austin in a dorm room, and then when they were looking to grow and scale, they found their new home in Round Rock, and that's the story that we sell. Is if you're a company here in Austin, out of Capital Factory, or wherever you're starting up from, when it's time for you to look to scale and find your next home, we really want them to think of Round Rock. We think that that's kind of our niche, is when you're ready for that next step.
That makes complete sense. And having that Dell name to help is got to be a great catalyst, plus a wonderful team around you. So that's really great. Robert, would you add anything to that?
No, I think, from a city of Round Rock perspective, economic development is a really interesting industry and it's always been focused on that recruitment and how can we get job relocations. And Round Rock was built as an entrepreneur city. It was that, grassroots economic gardening principle that really developed into a full-blown economy. And you guys have really embraced it, which I appreciate. I work all around the world in our kind of projects, and you don't see that always. And so there's a different spirit in your city, at the city council level, with the chamber, the city manager, everyone. You see it just flowing through. And I think it is because you were built by entrepreneurs. You're truly a city built by entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And Adriana, I mean, working with you and your team, you're intentional, you're diligent, and it was something I respected about all of you a lot and still do. So, I'd love to hear your perspective and your take on what made you decide to invest in a startup accelerator, right? Why was that the route after all of your diligence?
Yeah, I think Round Rock has always been a little bit ahead of the game. Yesterday, I attended IEDC's panel on what does the next 100 years of economic development look like, and IEDC started about 100 years ago, and at the time they were looking at top down. It was about recruiting the next Fortune 500 company and really big companies that were going to hire a bunch of people. And how that's shifted over the years. I think they said in the 80s there was kind of a shift into small businesses, but more recently it's about growing the people that you have in your community, and giving them the tools to succeed and start something of their own. And I think Round Rock, we've been doing that. And I started at the Round Rock Chamber about 5 years ago, and the whole time that I've been there, we've taken an economic development lens to helping small businesses and entrepreneurs and founders. And over the course of the last 5 years, we've really listened to the founders in our community. We've launched new programs. We went out and did a strategy around how do we keep growing, and what does this next phase look like for Round Rock. And one of the recommendations was to partner with an existing accelerator, because why reinvent the wheel? There are so many groups that are already doing this really successfully. And we went out and interviewed a bunch of companies, and that's kind of where we got partnered with Generator.
I love to hear just kind of the iterations you went through and the thought process there. So, Robert, I want to get your take too. You have a long history in economic development, right? So, how have you seen that shift going from the focus on those larger corporations and that being the sole economic development strategy, just focusing down into what a startup can do for the community?
Absolutely. I think as we take a shift in the industry and look at how do we make our cities better and how do we make an inclusive economy for everyone, it's gotta be locally focused. And so when you think of economic vitality, job creation, increasing your tax base, not just property, but the sales tax, creating generational and economical wealth within a community, it's gonna come from entrepreneurs. It's not gonna come from the relocation of a mega company from one city to another. It's gonna have to start there, and the city of Round Rock has really started to embrace that. And as Adriana has already said now, historically in this industry, it's about corporate relocation, but the next 100 years will focus on the grassroots economic gardening principle. It's really exciting that you guys are about 2 years before that. And so it's just really neat to see that a city is proactively thinking ahead of where the industry is flowing. And that's a lot of credit to you, the chamber, the city, and just the leadership that surrounds you guys to empower you guys to do that.
I like that. That's I think an important take on all of it. And so Adriana, when you were evaluating partners, there's lots of partners out there. What stood out about Generator? Why was it Generator end of day?
I think really what it was for us is how Generator comes in and really integrates themselves into the community that they're in. Um, Generator came in, they signed a lease, they hired someone from our backyard, and that person is in our community talking to the founders that we're talking to, and has really just become a part of the community versus it being someone who was maybe already doing something down the street and it was just going to be an extension of a program. It was also something unique to Central Texas. And that partnership that Generator offered was just nothing like nothing else we saw.
I think that piece of hiring that local person is a critical piece of all of it. And it's been wonderful to see how that can play out in a meaningful way. So that's great. And then Robert, from Generator's side, what do you look for in a community before deciding to expand there, right? Like what are those pillars and why was Round Rock the chosen one?
Absolutely. When we look at expansion, we look at cities that are forward thinking, first of all. We want cities that understand entrepreneurs are the key to unlocking that next generation of commerce, industry, wealth within a community. We want cities that are willing to take risks because entrepreneurism is a risk. And the city of Round Rock has surely taken a risk with what they're doing with us. So those are characteristics we like. We want cities that are willing to invest in themselves. At Generator, our motto and our mission is locals investing in locals. And that really starts at the government level. And that's back what original cities were built on, was cities were built to invest in their local people. Somewhere along the way, we got away from that and started chasing these major corporations. But then we come across cities like Round Rock where they said, we have people in our backyard that are great. Why don't we give them the resources and see what happens from there? And so when we look for communities, we want to see that they want it just as much as we do. We want to see that the city management, the mayor, the city council, the EDC boards are just as excited about the next wave of entrepreneurs as we are. And then the trust that they have in us. They don't micromanage, but they're a partner of ours, and they're engaged with us, and they belong in the same ecosystem with us. And I think you guys have done a really good job of, we want to be a part of what you're building, and we want to be engaged, and you're helping founders grow in your community that are coming through our program, instead of just saying, well, Generator does what they do. You guys are actually engaged at the granular level, and that's really exciting for us.
That makes complete sense. And so the stars kind of aligned there in a good way. So Adriana, you made a monetary commitment to this, right? Like this is something that Round Rock invested in, saw the value in. So let's talk about ROI. Everyone needs to be able to show ROI in these situations to keep these initiatives going. So what does success look like to you for this situation?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying when you're working with entrepreneurs and founders, sometimes it's hard. We racked our brain for years on how can you what do metrics look like? Because sometimes you're helping people who are so early stage that, you're like, "Ugh." But something that Generators helped us do through this partnership is work with these founders and help them create jobs and increase their revenue. I think we just wrapped up our first cohort, and of the 5 companies, between them in the 7 weeks, they were able to hire 3 people, which doesn't sound like a huge number, but 3 people in 7 weeks as a direct outcome from this program. As a cohort, they were able to collectively raise over $500,000 as a direct result to this partnership. And then I think one of the companies was even able to increase their revenue 10%. That's just incredible. And it's incredible to have a partner who can help work with these companies to achieve these goals and then help us capture these metrics so then we can go out and sell this as a part of our story on why you should come to Round Rock. And when you're looking to grow, like, come here. We have these kinds of programs that can really help take your business to the next level.
Absolutely. I think those are just the perfect points, right? For the economic developers in the room, right? You're able to track to jobs created, to revenue raised by these companies, to profit and growth margins. And that's just the beginning, right? So hopefully they're getting those building blocks to keep scaling. And that's a really exciting piece, clearly. Perfect. So would you add anything on the ROI side, Robert?
On the ROI side, I think you did hit it on the head with, it's about the new investment into the community. And I think a lot of economic developers haven't seen what you guys have seen. And what I would say is that, once again, it's a mind shift that you guys have created that the industry is lagging behind. But you mentioned 500,000 raised by startups coming in a 7-week cohort. So we're still in the very infancy stage of our relationship, but that's new foreign direct investment into your community. Now, I know in the industry, they always think of foreign direct investment as like international, but why? Why can't foreign direct investment mean money from Austin downtown proper to Round Rock, or Houston to Round Rock? That is new monies flowing into your community. By definition, that is foreign direct investment. We just always have classified that in the industry, but you guys saw that. So you're seeing the ROI based on the new wave of economic development, where traditional economic developers don't see that. And I think that's a really big deal. And then the job growth. To some people, they're like, well, 3 jobs, oh, I don't know, does that seem like a lot? But those are net new jobs. These aren't just being transplanted from, you name it, Kentucky to Round Rock. These are new jobs being created local, hiring people locally. And I think that's a big difference too. So those jobs have a different impact in your community than they do in other communities. And I think that's something that the story doesn't get told enough. So I think you're right on with the ROI.
Sounds like there's a lot of alignment. So I love this continued theme throughout this, to say the least. So let's talk about location, right? We're in a digital age. There's a lot that can be done online, but there's things you just can't replace about the location that you're in, the community that you're building. Those are critical pieces. So, um,
really appreciate it. Love, their you. I'm happy. Awesome, and very ready to you to never be expectable.
We've got some very exciting things going on up here. So, back to the location front and the importance of it. If a founder was deciding between Austin, Silicon Valley, Round Rock, what would you tell them about the importance of community and their location?
Well, I think I get paid to say really great things about Round Rock, of course. So I'll share some of the things that we hear from other companies who come and visit us. And I think it's mainly that Round Rock is so friendly and that how easy it is for when they come to visit our community. Our mayor is there and city council and the city manager, and we really roll out the red carpet for for these founders and make them feel special in a way that sometimes they don't feel in whatever community that they're currently located. And just as a whole, I think that's what's really special about Round Rock. My position, for example, was only created about 2.5, 3 years ago, and we really treat just my position as a startup, and it ebbs and flows based on what we're hearing from the community that they need or that they want. And Jordan Robinson, our president and CEO, every time I come to her saying like, "Hey, I really want to try something," she hasn't to this day not said no. I guess I'm not coming up with crazy enough ideas, but it's based off of the things that we're hearing from startups that are either already in our community or when we're at South by or traveling that we're hearing this is what we're looking for in a community. So it's if it's something that we don't already have, we really take it into consideration to see how we can incorporate it. We want them to feel at home.
I like that. The access, the community. There's just so many huge pillars of that. And communities that I've seen do it so well are almost like operationalizing the fact that they are smaller and that you can get these resources and these connections in a better way. So that intentionality is so big. But I want Robert's perspective too, as someone who is in California, has relocated, has sold this into lots of places. Like, what do you see as those difference makers in the communities?
Absolutely. And I'll also say to Round Rock, difference maker for everyone in the room. If you haven't been there, there's a charm that you don't get to see everywhere in the world. As Prentice said, I get to travel all over. I get to go to the UK, Italy, you name it. Round Rock in the downtown has a charm that you can't recreate. It's because it was built on a city that actually cares, and you can really feel it when you're there. There's an energy. It's very intentionally done. I know there's a big real estate company there too that's a partner where we're located with Round Rock Leasing, and everything they do you can tell is local. It's intentional. The school districts are good. The housing is great. It just has a community feel where you're so close to Austin, so you still get that, but you get the charm and the feel of a community that feels like home. And I'll say that for you because I know you have to sell it. She didn't. But it feels like home. And I think that's something that's big for founders too, as this is a really tough industry being an entrepreneur. You can get caught up and wrapped up in this cycle and you want to escape from it and you want to escape to it to somewhere that just feels calm but home, and you're still around the chaos, but you're not in it. So I love Round Rock. I think you guys already know that though. And so that but what else when I'm out and looking at communities, it's has the community bought into everything you're doing? And has the developers bought into this vision that you guys are going? And are they willing to go with you along these steps? And you guys have a lot of champions in your community that you don't see other places in the world. You have a really strong chamber and a really strong board. And once again, I know I keep talking about the city council, but policymakers are so important in this process. And your policymakers are doing things that other people should be emulating. And so I really commend them. And so that's really what I would say. But if your founders out there, you want to be away but in, like Round Rock is the place to be. We're really excited about our program. I'm really excited about the building we're in. I'm not gonna be like jealous. I work from home. It's not as fun as the building that our program's in, so I'll just say that too.
Yeah. I think that policy piece is a really great thing to touch on as just of going to all the different communities that we do and that you see different communities that just aren't founder startup friendly. They're not making this somewhere that is easy to be when there's somewhere next door that might be. So that's been a really cool thing to see come to fruition, to say the least. So let's talk just big picture, right? For people in the room, just looking at more of those concepts and some of those really big takeaways to bring home. Like, what do you see as supporting local founders in terms of that being more sustainable than just chasing relocations?
I think so. Some of our founders, I'll touch on them that went through this program. Some of them had such success and found such value through going through the program that they signed leases to stay in Round Rock and grow. And I think that's what we're hoping to see more of as we continue to help these companies grow. We want to foster that success for them and um, help them continue hiring more people and helping giving them that access to funding that they're looking for that maybe they wouldn't have without the support from Destin at Generator.
Yeah. There's those pieces like the local building from within, right? And the retention. I feel like talent retention has been such a hot topic, but it's such a critical one based off of those availabilities. Is there anything you would add to that with what you've seen, Robert? Just in terms of why supporting local founders is going to be more sustainable long term than just chasing relocations.
Absolutely. And since we're in Texas house, I can use the example. In the Midwest house, I can't use this example. We've seen it, right? We've seen cities all over the world cough out tons of money for corporate relocations, and it works for a while. But what happens when that money runs out? They leave. So you think back to Chicago, Illinois, Boeing, $62 million, 10-year agreement. What happened when the 10-year agreement ended? They left. All those jobs relocated to Virginia. Why? Because that's where they needed to go for their next destination. So a city puts out $62 million to invest in a company relocation, and for 10 years, it's great. Then they leave. Lasting impact's gone. All that money they spent on that. But when you put it into founders that are locally rooted in your community, we are an accelerator that believes, like I said, in locals investing in locals. So our cohorts are not about importing startups from the West Coast, the East Coast. Ours is about working with the people in the community. That means they're from there. They want to stay there. They want to grow jobs there. They're going to raise their families. And so the retention side is going to be much easier for you than if we were importing companies from California. They're going home. Everybody inherently wants to go home. And so when you invest in the local side, all of that growth, all of that economic opportunity stays local. Very different than kind of the traditional model because they will keep going. Incentives will drive everybody's decision. We can all see it. States fight over football stadiums and where to build them. I know there's one in our home state of where our company is from where it's happening locally. And so it's just one of those things you see.
Let's keep on that thread. So, if there are economic development leaders in the room that might be grappling with investment decisions as it pertains to the startup community, what would you tell them?
I think that's your best bet I'll go back to that conversation I heard yesterday is we're shifting from the top down model to really investing in the people in your community and maybe rediverting some of those investments from trying to get the big fish to helping the people in your community with their ideas and building them up because they're already invested in your community. So they're not going to go anywhere. That's where they want to be. And so really giving them the tools to grow and flourish in your community.
I what I would say to all the economic developers in the room that are thinking about this one, and obviously I'm with Generator, so of course my answer could be one way. But what I would challenge every economic development professional is the same way Round Rock sees it. Don't always think about the headlines of today, right? Everyone can be on the headline today. You can relocate a company, you'll be in a magazine, you'll be on the newspaper. It's really exciting. But think about the legacy you can create and leave in your community. And so when I think of the profession, I think for a blip in time, you can be in the Austin Business Journal. We relocated so and so here. But does that matter? Or is it 10 years from now? You're standing with the people you care about, staring at something. And I'm going to pick on or I'll use our example, like the building we're in. 10 years from now, we could be standing there in the middle of the street. Nobody knows who you are. But as you watch the founders, the startups, the employees, the mothers, the fathers coming in and out that are creating a legacy for their own family, that's different. And you're creating something different. And so you're doing it at such a grassroots level because I think inherently, and this is what our programs do, and this is what entrepreneurs do, it's an opportunity for people to do what matters the most, and that's put food on the family or on the table for the people they care about. Inherently, that's what humans want to do is take care of each other. And so when you do the entrepreneur side, you're doing it at this level. You're doing it with someone that you can name instead of just some corporation that has, a ticker on the stock exchange. That's different. And that is a lasting impression that you can't, I don't know. Maybe as I've gotten older, I look at it and I just want to stand in front of a building one day and be like, that's because of me, but nobody knows. Like that would be my ultimate dream. So you just see that and you can tell that's people.
Hey, one of the startups could take up the whole building, right? You might need 7 more. So I think that that's a really good point of just seeing things grow naturally and the automatic, like, just loyalty people have to those that support them along the way with it. So I think that's important. All right, now flip side to the investors in the room. Why do they need to make sure to have communities like Round Rock is an area they're looking at or in their portfolio, right? Like, why is it an area to make sure is not overlooked?
I think 'cause you need to look not all of these startups are in downtown Austin, right? So it's looking outside of the scope, and that's something even we're realizing as we're working with Generator and companies that are in our own backyard or coming out of the woodwork that we didn't even have any idea that they were right there, and I think investors will probably, as we continue to get this word out, be shocked too at how many startups there are out there in Round Rock and other communities outside of downtown Austin that perhaps they had overlooked because they were zeroed in on downtown Round Rock or downtown Austin.
I love this question because that is Generator. We operate throughout the Midwest. And for some reason, somewhere along the way, everyone thought smart ideas only happen on the coast. Don't understand why. I'm from there. So maybe I'm a smart idea. I don't know. But nonetheless, geographical means nothing. And somewhere along the way, we thought geographical meant something. And that's where good ideas and all of the startups need to be. And that's where you get funding. It's not true. There's great ideas in every city because there's beautiful people in every city creating things. It's just we were too lazy to get out of those cities because it's so much easier to just go somewhere where you think, oh, everything I find will be there, instead of going to these cities like Round Rock where you're uncovering brilliant ideas that you didn't know existed because you want to stay in your little bubble because it's easy. So for investors, and you're an investor and you understand, and I mean this with the most respect, but it's don't be lazy. Go to these communities, find the stories, hear the stories. I'll tell you right now, a founder in Round Rock will work harder if you invest in them than a founder from the Silicon Valley.
I love that. I echo all of that, right? With just everything that we'd seen in the market. And there were so many Silicon Valley and coastal investors that would come to us and say, hey, we want to make sure we're getting this access for the valuations, right? For the talent pools that are there, for the university presence. Like there's so many good things that are pulling from those markets. And like it's inevitable that great startups are going to come. So I love that. Anything else you would want to share as it pertains specifically to the program? I'm kind of wondering, like, on the founder side. Oh, never mind. But just, oh, sorry. Anything you've seen with the founders that you would highlight as just like things that they've been loving as part of the program or elements of it that they would share?
Well, I think for us, the biggest success is Generator hiring Destin Bell as our Round Rock program manager because as a founder who's been through it, who's raised money, who's been on Shark Tank, and exited a company successfully, I think that provides insight that is invaluable to these founders. And so I have to sit up here and my shameless plug is that we do have a cohort that's taking applications right now. So for any founders in the room, our second gBETA cohort is accepting applications now through, I believe, March 22nd. Destin has really given such attention, very specific to each founder to help kind of help them get to that next level.
That concierge approach. I love that. And then Well, is there anything you would add to that before I've
I
got one
know
last
we're
one?
I know we're almost on time, but what I would say to all the founders in the room too about that, if you want to stay local in your community but have access to a global network, that's what we're doing with Round Rock. You have access to the generator network of mentors all over the country, all over the world, investors all over the country, all over the world. So you get to stay in your own backyard but get access to the global market. So that's something, if you're looking to apply, I would do that.
That's perfect. And then one closing statement. All right, in one sentence, what does the future of Round Rock innovation look like?
It's flourishing. I was like looking at these flowers and that's what came to mind. But that's really what we're doing is we're helping these founders really find themselves in a community and grow and take them to that next level. And I think we're on our way to finding more Michael Dells.
What would you say?
I'll just say it's changing the narrative. It's showing other cities that you can do it yourself. You don't have to rely on others. And I think that's what you guys are going to pave the path for in this industry.
I think that's the perfect way to end. I think and hope that everyone takes away from this that communities don't grow by accident, right? They grow by leadership investing in those communities in an intentional way. So thank you both so much. Let's give them a round of applause.